No, just say it's a fucking shit show, bro. There's 100 songs that come out a day,
That's right.
and 80% of them are hip hop.
Yeah.
And people who are mad, all of the bloggers who wanted to keep it real, keep it 100, protect the culture and all that shit.
Yeah.
Now the shit is so watered down, and it's like a joke. If your cousin's like, yo, I want to be a rapper, it's a fucking joke. All right, y'all, it's time for a Rap Life review. We got Eddie, we got Nadeska, and I'm Ebro. We've all come together this week to run down the goings-on in and around the hip-hop culture. So let's start with a kind of a sports topic mixed with NBA YoungBoy, which is Ja Morant, who has yet again, I don't know if he think he NBA YoungBoy, but at any rate, we are watching this young man get suspended yet again for brandishing a pistol on IG Live. Now, guns aren't illegal where he's at, and that could be a legal weapon, but you're a representative of the NBA and a sports franchise, and they don't look kindly on you just brandishing pistols while sitting in a car listening to music with your friend. I think they was listening to NBA YoungBoy. They were, which is why I said it's like a sports kind of topic. Now I want to go to Eddie, who's a huge sports fan, and I'm sure you got something to say about Ja Morant on this topic.
Ja Morant's my third favorite basketball player. Like, I love watching Ja Morant play.
Yeah.
I just want what's best for Ja Morant because I just like watching the dude play basketball. And young people are going to be young people. And as someone who's a little older now, I used to do dumb stuff all the time when I was younger. It just wasn't caught on camera. So I'm not 100% dismissive of his actions because there are repercussions and he's finding out. Like, here's a dude that's worth $200-something million before the age of 25. I just want him to do better. That's it. I just want you to be a role model. Just do me a favor. When you go on IG Live, put the pistol away.
So basically, Eddie, you're saying stop playing yourself.
Stop playing yourself. I don't want to have the bigger talk.
If you're actually from an environment where there's a serious proliferation of guns and street behavior going on, most individuals that have an opportunity aren't trying to go back or, should I say, be flamboyant about the street life they come from. It's usually people who don't come from that want to brandish pistols and act like they so, man, having a gun ain't special, bro.
Where's he from? Is he from the suburbs?
He's from South Carolina.
He's originally from South Carolina, but he went to a private school.
Oh, that's nice.
He comes from a two-parent home, but that doesn't mean that,
that's also really nice.
That don't mean nothing.
That means a lot.
It means a lot, but then you factor in the fact that he's been successful for a little while now. And all of these problems are kind of just being exposed now. Like, he's not brand new in the league. He's been in the league 3 years.
So he's experienced enough to have learned to leave all of that behind.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, if you were going to display these kind of areas of bad judgment, I kind of believe that would have happened already. But it's happening now that things are actually going very, very well. You have your own shoe. You just went to the playoffs. Like, you're seen as the face of the NBA. You're doing it now, which is why I think Eddie's saying, I don't want to get into the larger topic of the pressure on a young person, right, to kind of self-destruct. Because that's what a lot of people are interpreting this as in the Ja Morant case, is the self-destruct part. And we see it happen with rappers. Like, if you watch the Tupac documentary, right? You're watching a young man who a lot of pressure was put on them. He came from an environment. Success came to you, the pressure came to you, and Tupac, if you watch the doc, you can see someone unraveling because they have kind of like this undiagnosed, untreated traumas and things that just have gone unchecked. There's no one actually making sure the human is okay. But on the NBA YoungBoy side of things, since they were listening to NBA YoungBoy in the car.
He should have been listening to J. Cole and Lil Durk. And
if he was listening to J. Cole and Lil Durk, he would be trying to be positive.
Change his life.
Change his life around. But we're going to get to that song because I think that's a very important conversation. But there's a new NBA YoungBoy project out. It's his second one in a month. Both projects, I believe, are in the top charts on Apple Music. So go check that out. Also, shout to Russ. Russ put out an amazing 6-track EP, which is follow-up to the first CHOMP. This is CHOMP 2.5. Anybody get a little time? Because I know, Eddie, you're a big fan.
So what I will say, I was kind of mad as someone who's been converted over to the to Russianity. I was like, why are we only getting 6 tracks, bro? Like,
oh, wow.
Because I will say, Hey, that white boy be rapping his ass off.
Yeah.
He like,
Russ
yo.
gets to it.
When I'm like 6 tracks, I'm like, nah, man, you playing with me. I don't like EPs. Give me a whole album, man. I've been converted.
We almost
Russ. I
never
apologize
hear
for all
that.
the
That's
slander.
amazing.
Yo, fam, I
Usually we
stopped
want it
talking
cut
to
in
a
half.
chick one day because she told me she listened to Russ. That really happened. She was like, I listen to Russ. And I was like, I can't deal with you no more.
It's funny,
And-
this guy still evokes such strong emotions, which is amazing. For an artist, for people to feel that passionate about you either way, I think that's already a success.
Russ
Super
is a
talented dude.
phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
Great melody, great songwriter, and I'm glad he knows the impact of delivering a proper hip hop record. I think one of the things I love about him is he cares about making great music.
Does.
And he cares about being great at his craft. So whether if you are like an Eddie where you're a Russ hater, he's an artist I've been supporting from as early as, I mean, when he was putting out songs, a song a week, I think it was, or something for like consecutive weeks.
Yeah, Russ and I had a falling out a long time ago for no good reason.
It was,
We're
he
good
just
now.
wanted love.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's a dope dude. He sent me his book when he put it out a few years ago, like during the pandemic, which is cool. I support him, man. Super talented, like you said. He puts in the work. It's hard to hate on him.
And then we got to focus on this Lil Durk J. Cole record. It checks so many boxes.
Yeah.
Phenomenal J. Cole verse. Going back to what we were talking about, young people coming from environments and trying to cope with stardom and trying to navigate. What I hear, first of all, Lil Durk's upcoming album is called Almost Healed. I love the fact that these young guys who come from a city that's often a headline around shootings and violence, and we know who Lil Durk's father's been away since he was a young man, for just, not wanting to snitch and being involved in street things. For Lil Durk to come to this point and be putting a record out like this that's not only emoting in a positive way, right? But also taking accountability. Like there's a line in the song where he talks to young people out there doing drugs and self-harm. And like basically says, look, I'm speaking from a place of, experience. Like I did that, you know what I mean? And that's not where we want to be. But that kind of thing, when we get moments like this where two top tier talent put together a solid record that's got positive vibes and it's delivering on storytelling and rhymes, I think we got to all gather around and celebrate that, because I think that's the thing that encourages more people, more artists to dig deep.
Yeah, it's a beautiful record, and it's cool that Durk said he wanted to get Cole for this specifically. He felt like he'd be the perfect person on it, and like he brings it home, right? Talking about like the internet monetizing violence, right? Like sometimes you've never heard of a rapper, and the first time an outlet is posting about them, it's because they got murdered or something like that. So I think it's a really great record. The production is also really tight.
I think that line from Cole also sets a tone, because now we about to see if people stick to that rule. Because the first blog that run out here and post about an artist we never heard of, but you're talking about them going to jail or killing somebody or dying themselves. And that's the first thing that we promoting. I bet you they're gonna get them flames in the comments. Let's go to Eddie out there in Los Angeles. I know you love this record, even though usually you hate positive rap.
That's a lie. I do like it. And everything you guys said it's ironic, because those are the things that stood out most to me about that song. Especially, and shout out to my boy Kev on stage on Twitter, because he's been on these blogs asses that have been basically, they've taken our culture and they've just put out the worst stuff possible. So follow Kev on stage, because he's on their helmet right now. So I love that line. It's like, yeah, you want to post them once they're dead because they want to capitalize on the violence and the loss of life. But in reality, what I love too is that Durk is someone who lived it and is an example to a lot of people. And what I always think about records like this is growth and maturity. Ideally, this is what happens when you watch someone grow. Like, we want to judge people when they're 17, 18, 19 years old making these decisions. And for a lot of them, they are the ones making money, and they're the decision makers and their whole family for like generations to come. And it's kind of unfair, this authority we've given them. And as someone like Durk, who's walked through this life and he's seen and made probably his mistakes that he feels he can talk about in his track, and he can grow. I want artists to be able to grow old and mature and learn stuff. And you can still make the ratchet stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with making ratchet music, but just give us both ends of it. If you can just give us one song on the album,
We'll
happy
take
with
it,
that.
right? Yeah, you're right. It's a different kind of respect. Remember a few years ago when Kodak was like peak in and out of prison, jail, back and forth, and I think it was Master P trying to give him some advice, and then he went on a show and flamed him. It's like sometimes people who've like been through it and seen it trying to give you that advice, the elders, is not well received, but someone like Durk, like he has the respect of people who are young. So I think it's amazing. I can't wait to hear the rest of the project.
Eddie, thank you, man. We got some visitors today, right, Nadeska? Your friends?
We do. Eric and Jeff are here.
From the Blog Era podcast. Well, It's The Real, but you have the Blog Era podcast. What's the difference between It's The Real and the Blog Era podcast?
It's The Real is the brand at large.
It's The Real.
We've done that for 15 years.
Yeah.
And then the podcast is the Blog Era podcast, where we spoke to 150 people. And
it's about 2007 to 2012, the bridge between Napster and MySpace and the streaming services of today.
So you guys technically are not like the hosts of the Blog Era podcast, even though you're bigger than that. There's an entity called It's The Real.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that for the audience, because this Blog Era podcast convo has kind of brought you guys back into the spotlight again after how long had you been working on this?
3 years. So same guys you knew from running around, going to karaoke parties, being all over outside, very outside for the majority of our careers. We sat inside for 3 years in our apartment, looked at a gigantic bulletin board with all of our notes, spoke to 150 people, recorded 500 hours of audio.
I love that your one example of things that we've done is go to karaoke parties. That's what we've done. Yeah, we're karaoke artists. That's why we're here.
So we're gonna reminisce a lot today. Loki's not with us because we know he would have loved this. Like Loki is definitely a part of the Blog
You heard
Era.
that new.
Yeah.
Yep.
Low key, that's one of the. Now, was Low Key's blog one of the blogs?
It was, yeah.
Capital D.
Yeah, if you think of like the Blog Era, you think of nowright.com, you think of misinfo.tv, you think of You Heard That New, you think of On Smash.
On Smash.
Right? So all these blogs, 7 of them came together and they were called the New Music Cartel, and that was like the leading.
Some mob shit.
Who came up
was.
with that name, by the way, the New Music Cartel?
SK from Not Right.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So he wanted to actually be on some gang shit.
Yeah, well, he was ready to go to war with the Hot 97s, the Apple Musics, basically everyone that you were involved with.
Yeah. He knew more. And that was my biggest problem with the Blog Era people, was because they hadn't been anywhere outside of their bedroom, but swore they knew more about what should be happening in popular music, and specifically hip hop, than people who are actually playing music to real people in real life.
I love it when old man Ebro, really like old man Ebro.
Yeah, man,
He
I
still
got
holds
to.
this animosity.
Yeah.
So Ebro is the kind of gatekeeper, I guess, that the rest of us were raging against
Yes.
Yeah.
at that point.
Yes.
So like,
and now look at you. That's my favorite part of the story. You guys hate the motherfuckers coming up now.
They hate us,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's what it is,
how
yeah.
it works. It's always this cycle of just
Yes.
like the young kids feel like they're being kept out,
Right.
and so they start something new, and then the cycle continues.
And the truth is, you're being kept out because you don't know shit.
is that true though?
Yes, it is.
Sometimes some people are well informed.
Well,
It's
no,
just
you know-
hard to find the platform.
No, you know what you know. The problem usually is you don't know what you don't know. That's the problem.
And Ebro
Or there's a
quotable.
well-defined box, and it's like, oh, that doesn't have to be the box that I live in.
I love that.
So like a lot of these people were making rap songs that didn't fit into your idea of rap.
Like who?
Like Wale in 2007.
Love Wale.
2008. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
today.
They embraced Raleigh right away.
well, you didn't play him in 2007.
Who? We
Hot
played
97.
Nike boots?
Even before that, Dig Dug.
Nah,
Like,
that
there's-
record was trash. Let's keep it 100. That record was doo-doo.
Yeah, but there's life before Hot 97 accepts him, and so they find new ways to get on.
And
like
what
in
we
the
called
Herb
that
magazine
before
and whatever.
blogs was college radio.
Sure, yeah.
Right? There's always a starter place where people can figure themselves out, right? It's called college.
Yeah.
It's called the playground.
Totally.
It's called, the streets where things get
Mixtapes?
figured out.
Of course.
Mixtapes,
But that's
all
not
of that
how,
exists.
No, because it's also that like now we're living in a time when there's a million avenues to get your music heard, and it doesn't have to be on radio, and it doesn't have to be
right.
anywhere else. And so like you can put things on, formerly Tumblr or TikTok. Like things just get out now. So there is no college radio.
What
Yeah.
makes the
Right.
blog era interesting is that the internet flattened everything. So it gave people a chance, like a Wiz Khalifa. Wiz signed to Warner Brothers, didn't get his shot. He had one song out there and it didn't hit like maybe the label thought, maybe he thought, maybe his management thought. And he was like, that's it, my life is over. Like I don't have a second chance, until he decided that the internet could be his way through.
Right.
If Hot 97 wasn't gonna play his records all the time, well, there has to be some other place because I just feel this. And so he started touring around the US. He started putting music out without any limitations, when he wanted, how he wanted, with whom he wanted. And it took off and it became the Wiz Khalifa we know today.
Yeah.
Right, and he really started like the touring model that a lot of artists have today, the merch model that a lot of artists have today. And I honestly believe that it's the best thing for music, right? Because the cream will always rise to the top, right? And I remember we used to have this debate all the time, and I would tell people, I'm not in competition with the internet. Like, that's not a thought that anyone has where I'm trying to beat the internet. Because before it was the internet, it was, like I said, it was the club, it was college radio. There was always a starter place for things to experiment and find an audience. And then that audience begins to shape what the mainstream will become.
But how is the blog era different from, so Ebro's naming all these other mediums like college radio and the club. Of course, the club, that's still a thing. You could download MP3s at the point, right? But what made the blog era actually so important?
Well, so Eric and I spent so much time like thinking about like what made this time special, like, you know, because we really wanted to like litigate this entire experience. And it's like, you know, we didn't want to do a whole nostalgic play. And so what made it different is that it's the first time that even though it's 10, 15 years ago, none of this stuff exists anymore. The links are all broken. The history has been lost. And so the ability to like dig that back up and say this was an important time for all these different reasons, all these crazy shifting forces in culture, that's what makes it important.
And that all those people from that time are running pop culture today.
Right.
Yeah.
So people like look at a Drake and they look at a Wale and they look at a Wiz and
J. Cole,
Kendrick, all these guys.
Which
who
you
came
have
from
to
that
wonder,
time.
it's so crazy when you think about that. Like, was that fated that era, it's some of the biggest artists of all time came up? Was it because of the blogs or just, it's really a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Like Drake, Cole, Big Sean, Wale, Cudi.
Yeah, totally.
It's crazy when you think about.
And also the blogs gave a deeper story, which it was also at a time when magazines were dying, right? So there was nowhere for you to get the deeper kind of holistic view of what an artist was beyond the song, right?
Yeah.
Some way to tell a story. And many of the blogs did a great job at telling the deeper story.
Totally. This was a time when technology met where all these artists were at. So you had GarageBand on your computer. Why don't I just record when I want and how I want? And then I'll just email it instead of I got to go to a studio, I have to pay an enormous amount of money to get an engineer, to have it mastered, to get it a publicist, to get it into a magazine, to exist in the bigger world. All of a sudden, that road was shortened by a lot.
So what did you guys actually learn recording these episodes?
So much. I mean, like...
So we spoke to 150 people.
Oh, only 150?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, honestly, it's kind of a drop in the bucket when you think about it, because like 150 seems like a lot, but there's so many blogs. There's so many commenters, executives, artists.
This guy.
Well, we did speak to Ebro. He was one of the top 150.
I made it. I don't know. I don't remember what I contributed, but they said it was a lot of curse words.
Yes.
Sounds about right.
Ebro actually gave an amazing context to a lot of stuff, especially from being in the position that you were in and understanding the energy that these kids had. But in speaking to 150 people, you get to cross-check things and find a lot of information out, even if you don't have it to begin with. So there's so much history, so many stories that we uncovered speaking to all these people who, if one person remembered something, you ask somebody else about it, and they're like, oh, right, it unlocks a certain, key to the attic. So it is incredible, the stuff we learned, including the fact that, the DJ Drama and Don Cannon situation, the RIAA, Georgia state government, they come and pinch the guys, and like physical mixtapes are essentially over. That era is done. It leads to a place where the blogs can grow out of that. Mixtapes were a way of putting content out there and having, everyone experience it for the first time. What the New Music Cartel did to get the scent of their leaking records away from all the legal ramifications that were coming their way, all the big labels that were knocking down their doors, was to make up a DJ called DJ Prestige. They had a friend of theirs go in the booth, record drops for this fictional DJ, and they put those songs out in the street, and all the feds and all the legal people went chasing DJ Prestige, this person that did not exist.
That's amazing.
We found that out on the
Wow.
Yeah.
That had to be Miss Info's idea.
Yeah, she was doing deep cover.
That's right.
Well, that had to be her idea.
Yeah.
You guys brought up, influencers and TikTok, and there's always a new, as we've discussed multiple ways, there's always a new way for music to get exposed. How do you guys feel after constructing this amazing, let's call it a docuseries, right, on podcast? How do you guys feel about the amount, now that all of the gatekeepers have been removed?
You're still here.
And you all can, at your leisure, just put out music as much as you want.
Right.
At any time, at any hour. How do you guys feel music, the health of, and the quality of music is today?
I feel like there's so much music. and there's no gatekeepers. And you see a lot of conversation
You
that
see
goes
this
on.
face that he's making? I want you to know that this is a loaded question he just asked you
100%,
here, right?
yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Ebro wants to know, like, oh, they
No,
want
just
me
say
back.
it's a
They
fucking
want-
shit show,
They
bro.
want,
There's
they want the bad guy
100
back.
songs that come out a day,
That's right.
and 80% of them are hip hop.
Yeah.
And people who are mad, all of the bloggers wanted to keep it real, keep it 100, protect the culture and all that shit.
Yeah.
Now the shit is so watered down, and it's like a joke. If your cousin's like, yo, I want to be a rapper, it's a fucking joke.
This is the energy he had on the podcast?
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
recorded?
That's exactly how Ebro sounded, but while packing up some packages, like while on the phone with us. So you hear him like with the tape, like zip, and then he yells about, something unedited for 10 minutes.
Old
which
man
is great.
Ebro.
Listen, no, but I think here's the thing. No matter where music comes out, I think the beauty in what you guys have done it for your career, even Nadeska, and everybody getting started right now is you did it for the love of hip hop. You
Right.
did it for something that was speaking to you in an important way and you wanted to contribute. You wanted to be a part of it, no matter if it paid you money or not.
That's exactly right.
And in the blog era, same shit. People who cared about this music, it meant something to them. They knew it was important. They wanted to contribute in some way, shape, or form. And then those of us that have already been in the game for some time, we're going, okay, we see that you want to contribute, but do you really, really, really have the right motives? And do you know what it's going to take to make sure that this shit survives? And who are we handing this off to? And I got to say, the blog era brought forth some amazing artists that, like we were just talking about Lil Durk and J. Cole.
Yeah.
Hip hop's in great hands, right? And that's, I think, ultimately what anyone who's contributed to this culture and knows what it means to even have it as an outlet to create in some way wants to make sure of, is that people are taking care of it so that the next generation of people who needs to be spoken for or from marginalized communities or experiences that people want to ignore have a place to land. So,
No question.
who is the GOAT of the blog era?
Oh, man.
This could be divisive and you may not have friends after it, but we expect an answer.
I think the obvious answer is Escape from Not Right. I think he's the sun to our universe, and you don't get the blog era without him, his contributions, his taste, and the passion that he put into that project that became a business and then was sucked
And
away
was
by
that the
forces.
first? Was he the first?
He was not the first.
But he is like the blueprint of like who bloggers, like the format that they adopted.
Now, if you want to talk artists, you could talk about a Drake. I mean, like, he's unbeatable
Yeah.
across the board. But you can also talk about the Cool Kids and Wiz Khalifa and...
Yeah,
and
Currency.
Drake is quintessential blog era, like
Yeah.
more so than a Cole.
I think
I
they're
would say
both blog
both.
era.
I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Only because like Drake, it felt like Cole felt like he was kind of like gave a tape to Hove and then kind of
Right.
worked his way up a traditional route.
Yeah, but then you
I
could say
guess.
that like Drake started on third base because he was already on TV, and I mean, like there's
Well, no, I guess in the sense of music distribution and discovery. And
I mean,
if
I
we-
guess I would count both because it was
Yeah.
the Cole mixtapes that were amazing, and then he signed with Jay, and they had all those issues and back and forth. So I felt like the blogs were still like pivotal.
And where
to
does
his
Kendrick
rise.
fall in this? Is
So Kendrick
all
is
blog?
late era, blog era.
I got it.
But he is, like, 2dopeBoys.com. Like, if you don't have Kendrick on there, who knows what his career
And Nicki
looks like.
Minaj is blog era.
She is blog era.
but she started in mixtapes, which is like
Because she was on K Slay tapes early,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. And Sycamore.
And Sycamore,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And Fendi was a big part of her early career.
right.
and-
She was on like DVDs and stuff, so
Yeah,
like
Smack DVD.
like very like local to Queens, and then I believe that Marissa Mendez and
Yep.
Deb Antony like introduced her to the blogs.
There it is.
And if we're being really honest, the women did not get a fair shake on all the blogs. As commenters, as artists, as creators, there were a lot of amazing women who created blogs, whether that's Ashley Outrageous or I Love Lola or
Perfection.
or Karen Civil or a whole host of these. Hustle Girl, who was very, very early on Drake and made a huge contribution
Oh
to
my
this
God,
time.
yeah, you're right.
And I think that kind of sexism, it just permeates what social sexism permeates into just all aspects of life, right? The same way up until now there was like very few women MCs because male DJs felt weird playing a girl record or
record labels were like, hey,
too
hair and
expensive,
makeup
right.
and the idea of this is too expensive.
Right.
But the reality is, if it's good music, go put it out there.
Yeah. Hey,
the blog era, the podcast. Go look for it, Apple Podcasts. This has been the Rap Life Review for Nadeska and Lo and Eddie and Jeff and Eric.
Hey!
You got her names right.
It's the real. It's been Rap Life Review. Thank you for checking us out.
Hope you enjoyed that episode of the Rap Life Review. I'm Nadeska, and you can catch me here every single week with Lil Key and Ebro. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing. Give us a like and drop a comment so we can hit you back next week.